Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today is the 11th of April, 2019. I'm Roy Potter, and this is the Potter Expositor. I am, of course, on the road, so I have to use. I carry a small, uh, basically, stage with me, um, with lights and a background and all that. But I didn't feel like setting it up this morning. It just takes a little too long, and then I got to take it down. Yeah, it's kind of a little traveling studio. You've seen it before, probably didn't know it. Good morning as y'all come in. Thank you for being here. This is a very sad, serious day. We get good information one day and then they rip us down the next, which is why I titled this video what I have. The Intel community has tried to keep its operations silent because we are the enemy to them. The people are the enemy to them. They work for Luciferians, they work for the banksters, they work for people like Soros and the New World Order. They do not work for us. They do not even work for the president. And if you haven't figured that out over the last 2.5 years, you've been missing something. Again, hello everyone as you come in. I don't know that I'll be looking at chat today, but obviously there's some things that I wanted to address. I don't know what to say right at the present time. This thing with Assange being arrested, we knew that the U.S. was after him. It's interesting. However, the information comes out, and even President Trump said this during campaign, he doesn't care how the information comes out. He cares that the information showing criminal activity in our government has light shone upon it. We complain about Hillary Clinton and John Podesta and the DNC all complain about their system being hacked, which it wasn't, of course. It was downloaded from the inside. They're still trying to blame the Russians for that. I even hear that today from George Webb, which really surprises me. No, I don't listen to George Webb that often, but this morning on this Assange thing I did. And I'm a little disappointed with. He's a very intelligent guy. He's been in the intelligence business for a long time, but I saw some real serious waffling there. Even though at the end he just said that the Magna Carta has been ripped up, and our Fourth Amendments and our rights have been shredded. But some of the lead up to his explanation troubled me. But that's another story. Okay, so in other words, the DNC can complain about, and Hillary can say, "Oh, our information was stolen" or whatever. The U.S. can say, "Oh, our war crimes, the information on our war crimes was stolen." But never do they say, "Yeah, we did it." Hillary doesn't have to address her crimes, at least she hasn't yet. But all she has to do is say, "My stuff was stolen. I got robbed. The DNC got robbed." Never mind that they were doing criminal conduct, because our real IC was protecting them, would not go in there and do something about it. And you can't tell me they didn't know. And the same with Assange. Assange, I realize that this thing's a lot bigger. I imagine that, well, I don't know what Dr. Pachinik thinks. I haven't looked at him. He's kind of waffled back and forth as well. But Julian Assange, even if he is an undercover or a journalist, I should say a spy pretending to be a journalist, if the governments are not going to address things like killing innocent civilians, operating in a coup to take down the president of the United States, go after Hillary Clinton, all these things, that they're not going to correct themselves when these things are brought out, but point the fingers at somebody else. Does that tell you something? Doesn't that sound like somebody, like a young child that won't take responsibility for its actions? Kind of like a Chucky. It'll kill you with its knife and then say, it's your fault. They're out of control. They are the evil, as I've said for a long time. They are the evil secret combinations of the last days. They're not protecting governments, they're protecting themselves and their illicit activities and their plans to destroy you and your family. And it's nothing less than that. And I heard Sean Hannity again last night. I wanted to reach through the television set and grab him by the throat. He says, "Oh, the top level of the FBI. Oh, we're not talking about the rank and file." He keeps saying that. Well, if we're never going to, and I read that situation from the last refuge the other day, if we're not willing to look how they've set up their entire organizations after themselves, those leaders brought in the same type of people, if we're not willing to call that out, we're not going to get out of this. The Sean Hannitys of the world are going to keep us from fixing our problem because he's naive or he's complicit. So, I mean, I'm not sure what to say. I consider this, you hear all the stuff that they're saying about Assange. Oh, he violated the Ecuadorian government's rules, the way he was treating people, and still getting access and all that. And you cue people out there who said that he was in safety 2 years ago. I think it's an important thing to point out here. President Trump's investigation, Tom Fitton's investigation, Ames' investigation, and we can name all the others that have been at this for a long time, have pointed out, and even Sarah Carter and John Solomon of the Hill, not so much Greg Jarrett, he stayed on the legal side, but we know that Five Eyes, Italy, and Ukraine, plus the Russians, but the Russians, minimal, actually, very minimal, except for individuals tied to them, we're involved in this coup with our IC, with our DOJ, State Department, FBI, CIA, etc. We know that. Well, who came after Assange? The Five Eyes. And I think what's happened here is, and this is all speculation. I really don't know the answer. All I know is this is cowardice on Trump's behalf as well. You can't tell me he didn't know this was coming. However, he's threatening, going back to Trump now, he is threatening to declassify all the information, right, through this whole coup. The FISA warrants, all of that. The Five Eyes asked him not to. Our own IC has fought it. So this is one of two things. This is either Trump trading something for the ability to do that, which I doubt, because the IC is not going to allow that to happen. As I've said all along, if he doesn't do it today, he isn't going to do it. Okay? If it doesn't happen today, he's been talked out of doing it for fear of his life or the life of his family or something. That's the way I see it. So the Five Eyes said, okay, you say you're going to out us, that we were involved in trying to overthrow you and your government, particularly the British involved in that, the Crown. Okay. Well, we're going to go ahead and we're going to go after Assange. And he's got somebody in the DOJ. Who signed this indictment in the DOJ? Probably Rosenstein, but I'm not certain. The problem is that Barr is in charge there now. I heard Webb this morning say that, he's not sure about Barr either. He thinks Barr is going to put a kibosh on this whole thing and cover it up, despite his words. I don't know. There's so much lying. There's so much cowardice. There's so much evil. I don't know. We get encouraged yesterday and the day before with Barr saying what he's going to do, calling this whole thing actual spying on the president, spying on the Trump campaign. And then I see all these people saying, "Oh, don't call it spying. It was just an investigation." Oh well, and I heard in this one senator, I forget his name right now. He said President Trump and Barr, at least Barr, should know that there's a difference between an investigation and counterintelligence in an investigation and in real spying. Well, let me tell you something, okay? In case you all don't know, and I put it up on a tweet yesterday. There's a big difference between doing an operation, whether a spy operation or an investigation, whatever you want to call it. There's a big difference between gathering information and planting false evidence or manipulating people so that they can be charged with things they didn't actually do. Do you see what I'm saying? That is what happened. It was not an investigation to gather evidence, it was an operation to frame people, including the president. That's what your IC is up to. And it's not just the top levels. They've made sure that their evil will be reproduced with the people that they've brought into their organizations over the last 20 years. So this is a very serious situation we have. And I can't give you answers as to what's really going on behind the scenes. But and then Webb says, well, let's get the not just the buildings involved, but the people. Okay. Well, the first person you got to look at this point is Haspel, MI6, and our own. I hate to say it, but the DOJ. There's still a problem there. So, frankly, after all the big talk the last few days, what we saw in the Barr situation, uh, this is not a good sign as far as I'm concerned. They need to, in my estimation, they're sending a message not just to other journalists that they better not. Well, we've seen it. Look at CNN, MSNBC, the major networks. They're all part of the IC. They're all controlled by the IC. Trump says they're fake news, but he won't go to the next step and say you're rogue elements, not really rogue, but rogue elements of the intelligence community. He won't do that. Why? Because they'll kill him. Well, then we put our hope in the wrong person. At this point in time, I don't see this turning around in any way, shape, or form in our country. Not right now. Like I said, until Barr arrests somebody, and he doesn't have to wait 30, 60, 90 days. He's got the information now. We'll see. I don't want to misjudge him, but it's interesting. With all of the information out there that we know about the coup, Brennan, Comey, McCabe, Strzok, Page, uh, the whole list, with all of the information, Clinton, with all of the evidence out there that they certainly have, none of them are collared. No, they go after a journalist. Let's just say he is a foreign spy, okay? But he's doing it outside our country. He's hacking our computers. They say, well, whatever. The point is that they go after him. They won't go after the people that are inside our own government, destroying us from inside. That Assange was just trying to point out their culpability, their crimes against not only the people of the United States, but the people of the world. Look at Libya. Look at the helicopter attack on those innocent journalists and people there in Baghdad that started this whole thing with Chelsea Manning. I'm not saying Chelsea Manning did the right thing in revealing all the things that could have possibly gotten operations in trouble, but certainly showing the war crimes is only right. I don't want to get into all the other details, but regardless, so aren't there journalists at the New York Times and the Washington? We saw that one, the New York Times, right? Right. Just I brought it out just the other day. Hamburger, his name is, and Ignatius, I think, is the other guy's name. Why aren't they arrested? Because they're part of the IC. Better watch it. I hope my I haven't told my moderators that I'd be on here, but fear mongering, fear mongering. You don't understand the awful situation you're in unless you're part of the problem, and you want it to be this way. Well, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this Assange thing. I think you get my point. So the Five Eyes is basically telling President Trump, you declassify that stuff, we're going to implicate you with Assange, one way or the other. They've tried already. They tried with Stone, right? The whole investigation was to try to say that Trump and his team had coordinated with WikiLeaks and others to hack the computers of the DNC and of Hillary. This doesn't bode well, and Trump should do something about it. What do you say he can do? He needs to start speaking the truth and stop whitewashing and having rallies. Rah, rah, rah. Nothing happens. Our border's wide open. He's put it off for another year. No, very few military on the border. We're still in the foreign wars. Let's change gears for a minute. Candace Owens, good on her yesterday. She has more courage than Trump does, as far as I'm concerned. She stood up for him. She said what was going on here about how they've come after him. She put down Nadler for his stupid not listening. And she put down Ted Lieu for trying to lie. Who's going to hold them accountable? Well, now Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi should have removed Nadler from his position, but they won't. The end result isn't even Trump. Do you folks understand that? Trump's just the icon. He's the symbol, and he's failing at that at this point, unless he does what he says he's going to do. And at this point, he's not. I don't care what anybody wants to say. Coulter's right. Coulter's right. But I got to give one for Candace Owens yesterday. She believes in the principles of our republic. She said democracy, but she believes in and defends the principles of our democracy, not the cults of personality, not the parties, but the principles. God bless her. We need more women like that. Okay, I've got notes here, as you can tell. I've already talked about the difference between spying or investigating for the purposes of gathering information and the purposes of framing people or planting evidence, which is what they were doing to the Trump campaign. Big difference. And that shows evil intent. Plus, as you all should know by now if you've been watching all this, if the FBI gets involved in investigating something in a presidential campaign or in the office of the president, they're supposed to tell that person that they may be infiltrated by Russian assets. That didn't happen. Why? Obviously, they didn't want Trump to know. Number one, they lied to him that he wasn't the subject of the investigation. Number two, they want to frame him. It's very easy. There's no way, you don't have to do a whole lot of machinations, some people say, around that to understand that that's what they were after. Comey called it because of the sensitivity that he didn't talk to Congress about it. Wrong. I'll bet you there were some members of Congress that knew what was going on, obviously. Pelosi, Feinstein, Schumer. Schumer said it over 2 years ago. The IC has 6 ways from Sunday to get back at you. And Trump, I wish he had gotten DeGeneva in there. DeGeneva still has hope, I suppose, on Barr, but I got to tell you, this thing right now, I don't know. Barr did say something that I thought was good, but I just hope it's not false hope and to get everybody thinking he's going to look at this and then come back and help whitewash the whole thing. He said not only that there was spying on the president, but he said he's not just going to look at the FBI specifically, not just the FBI specifically, but the intelligence community generally. Well, there's no reason for him not to already have that information. The IG report's been this long in the making. Come on. Come on. Huber, I see people like Hannity now saying, well, Huber must be bringing something. I told you he didn't do anything. And Victoria Tonzig will tell you that he never contacted her witness. He's done nothing. I have contacts in Utah. They tell me he's done nothing. However, I did say a few days ago, that Barr did ask him for work product about a month and a half, right after he got into the AG's position. Well, what is that work product going to be? How extensive is it going to be after all of this time? I hope Barr's serious, ladies and gentlemen, but I don't have a whole lot of hope for it. I just don't, especially not now that this has happened. The Five Eyes, including our State Department, including our Department of Justice, including our CIA, etc., may have just moved to neutralize any movement towards the restoration of the Republic. Again, I hope that that's not happening, but I've got to look at the evidence as it is. Like I told you, I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. I'm going to speak my mind. If they could go out, as I said a few minutes ago, if they could arrest Assange on his supposed crimes, I'm not even saying they're crimes. If they can arrest him, why haven't they gone after the coup plotters already in our government? There's certainly there's more than probable cause there. It's beyond that. It's beyond a reasonable doubt. I know a court has to settle that in the end, but it's obvious, and those people are walking around at this point in time. McCabe selling his books, Comey selling his books, probably Lisa Page and Peter Strzok, screwing in the corner of Washington D.C., laughing their asses off. This is disgusting. The last thing I wanted to bring up is, and I'll watch this for the next few days. I try to go off of. I left and I thought, wow, it looks like Barr is doing something. Candace Owens is out there giving it to these asses in the Democrat Party and the rhinos. It looks like things are going great. And then this morning, Article 2, Section 2, Article 2, Section 3. Pamela Anderson today, talking about Assange being taken out, she called Trump a coward. And again, ladies and gentlemen, I hate to say this because people say, Roy, you waffle back and forth. It's because I try to give him the benefit of the doubt and then he steps on his dick. Or ours. Sorry, I'm being vulgar, but I am angry. But she called him a coward, and rightly so in my estimation. I love what Trump says he stands for, but look at what he hasn't done that he promised to do. Why isn't the I've already said this. I'm sorry. I'm backtracking. Let me go to John Solomon on the Hill. He's one of the managers of the Hill, or one of the lead guys. I forget his actual title, one of the editors or whatever. But he said something last night on Hannity I thought was pretty interesting. He said, Debbie Donovan, my guess, how do you expose the corruption without making people mad? Debbie, that's a Q thing. I'm sorry, Debbie. I'm sorry. This whole thing about trying to wake the people up is now becoming a nightmare in and of itself. I'm sorry. If they can act like this on Assange, they could do it with the others. No, this is a, just like the Boston bombing. I told you, this is a back and forth thing. This is a war in the government, and we're losing. I don't care what anybody. I don't care what Alex Jones tells you. This proves that we're losing in the long run. We're losing because they will not take action. Barr's up there saying, "I'm going to look into it." People are saying they already put together this team. Oh, and then he says yesterday, "No, I didn't really put the team together yet. I'm looking at it." What? What? This is the number one priority in our country, and he hasn't put the team together yet? Or he has and he just doesn't want anybody to know it? I talked about Keith Schiller and the team down there that's working for Trump, where some of this information is probably coming from in the vault, the 96-page secret response to the Mueller report. A lot of talk, no action. John Solomon. John Solomon on Hannity last night, he says, "Well, I got to tell you, back 2 years ago when I first came on your program and was discussing this, I went home, and about 11 o'clock at night, there was a blue government sedan out by my mailbox with two guys. And I went out to see what it was." Did any of you hear this? Did any of you hear him talking about this? And he goes out and he talks to these two guys, and they say, "Look, you got to do something. You're on the right trail. You've got to do something. This is a travesty. I'm paraphrasing. This is a travesty. It's happened in our government, and you're on the right trail. Keep it up. Please do this." Well, yeah, there are a few guys and gals, I suppose, in the IC and the FBI, etc., that will, try to secretly tell, people to do something, but they're few and far between. But that happened to him, and we just found out about it. I hope he's telling the truth. I do not have any faith in the lower echelons of the IC, unlike Sean Hannity, Lou Dobbs, etc. I don't have any faith in it. I've seen what they do. So these two guys supposedly told John Solomon that he needs to get to the bottom of it. We'll see. We'll see. John Reagan, clean the house before you exterminate the threat. That's true. You don't let a bomb in the house. When I say a bomb, I'm talking about pesticide. Until you get everybody out and you cover all the stuff that you don't want contaminated, and then you leave, shut the house up. I understand that. Where is this cleaning the house happening, John? Where is it happening? The only people I see getting into trouble are people that were set up like Papadopoulos and Carter Page. Innocent ranchers who were just trying to exercise their rights in the West. Reporters that go beyond what they're told to say on their Avid screen, their teleprompter. Those people that go beyond that. I don't see any government officials getting in trouble for any of the crimes that they've committed. Viet Cong fire, that's true. Let's look on the positive side of that. Have any of you watched President Trump after he was getting ready to get on Marine One, or had just gotten off of it? I'm not sure which. He did finally call it a coup. He absolutely did. Good on him. He said there were bad people and this was treason. Good on President Trump. But again, ladies and gentlemen, rhetoric and words are nice, but until we see the first person in handcuffs, why is it they could go after Assange right away, but they can't go after Hillary or any of those other people? Why? So words don't mean anything. Do you understand what I'm saying? I don't care what he says anymore. I care about what he does. And he's not doing a whole hell of a lot. They got a gun to his head, to his family's head, probably. That doesn't help us to know that. I mean, we can say prep, pray, stay out of the way, which is what I've been preaching for how many years now? But that doesn't really fix the problem. We're going to be torn apart. The whole nation's going to be torn apart. And I'm not even saying that's a bad thing anymore, because we don't deserve the illustrious graces that we've been living under for 200 years. We've made a lot of mistakes, but we didn't deserve the freedom that we got because we threw it away at the first opportunity when somebody gave us a little cash. Joe Verne, that he's saying that people need to rise up and take the country back. I don't see that happening, and it's not for cowardice. It's because the system is put all of these things that they say they put out there for our security wasn't for our security, or else all of these terrorist things wouldn't have happened. No, they put in all of this system, the panopticon that's almost complete, all of that, so that they could protect the elite, nobody else. And they consider themselves at this point the elite. The elite will get rid of them later, but that's the whole purpose of it. You can't make a move without them not knowing what you're doing. It's impossible. You could throw your phone away. You could walk, not be in your car. It doesn't matter. With facial recognition, with nanotech, with drones. I'm not saying not to stand up for your rights, but I'm saying that without the proper competent authority to back you up, you're not going to succeed. All you're going to do is waste yourself. We're going to be wasted in the end anyway. God said, that the beast made war with the saints and prevailed. I think that there has to be a land of refuge, but apparently it's not here. Not at this point. Yeah, thank you, Michelle Castaneda. You're not fear-mongering by telling the truth. No. No, no. Unlike Q, that gives you sugar-coated lies to calm you down and to make it so that you don't think you have to take action. I might be too far the other way. I might be. But it's not so that I can get money out of you. And I don't even care if you're here or not. I told you why I did this. I did this to unload karma from working for nearly 30 years for this evil behemoth, Leviathan government. I detest the day I put the uniform on. But I did it for the principles. I will admit that. I did it for the principles, but they lied to me even then. They lied to me, and I found that out a very short time later. Okay, I'm going to go back to the top. Sorry I'm on my phone. Like I said, I would like to have had my whole setup, but I was I was so angry, and I just didn't want to take the time, and I want to go out for breakfast. I was going to cook here where I am, but I'm going to go out and eat. Let me say one more thing before I go down through the what I can get through on the chat here. We know technologically now that, and this is going to sound kind of bizarre, but I want you to I want you to just listen. Sip your coffee or cocoa, take a bite to eat, take a deep breath, whatever, because this is going to be a little on the outside, but it's for real. If you're watching the tech people and what they're publishing in their journals, even the military, the DoD is working on. Actually, they've already got it. It's probably part of the reason for the 5G going up. They can actually project voices into your brain that you will hear voices. We already know that they can put up holograms in the sky. It's even beyond the blue beam stuff that they were using before, whatever that was called. It's even beyond that. I don't know what their end plan is, but they're going to pretend to be God. There are already people that have said, especially those who went through MK Ultra, that they heard voices telling them to do these things. I think that this is going to become more common. God is reaching out to us. He says that his law, he will put his law in our hearts and minds, but a lot of us will reject it. Just as I said, you can pray for President Trump. I can pray for President Trump. I ask that God will send him the spirit of discernment. But if he rejects it, then he has a right to do that. Praying for him is only going to have so much good. It'll turn on him in the end. It'll be his judgment. And that'll be the same for us. God's working for us. God's working with us in our hearts and minds. The evil side knows this, and they're trying to put in a system where you think God is working with you. It could very well be that a lot of people are going to start hearing voices telling them various things. What? I don't know. I can guess, but I don't want to take time doing that. But I want to tell you something, okay? Just please consider this. If you hear a voice in your head, I don't care if it's, and it'll lie to you 99 times to get you to do the one thing bad next, okay? But this is what I want you to know. If you hear a voice in your head telling you anything, I don't care what it is, you have a right to a duty, okay, not to take it on face value that it's God. Quite the opposite, right? Because the devil can appear as an angel of light. But how do you know? How in the end will you know if it's God or not? Because there are at least two other things that happen. I'm telling you this up front. Because what does the scripture say? In the mouth of two or three or more witnesses shall all things be established. God will give you two witnesses to attest that it's him talking to you. And it's something that man cannot replicate. And I won't tell you what they are. Other than that, it's an overwhelming sense of power and an overwhelming sense of love. Now, yes, they could project those things into different parts of your brain to make you feel something similar, but it's not the same. Beware. And I won't go into any more depth on it than that. Okay, let me go down through here. I've already answered a few. Let me go down real quick. Josie Schmidt, blessings from Australia. Thank you. Blessings to you too. Terrible things even happening to you all down there. Richard Schumann, retired MP. Hi, Richard. Nice to meet you. Yes, I believe Assange is a hero too. He did, Trump. Okay, I won't go there. Yes, I believe he's a hero too. The beast made war with the saints and prevailed. Yeah, I don't think that Trump's going to give Assange immunity. I think this is a Five Eyes operation to neutralize the president on giving any of this information, unclassifying it, declassifying it. I think it's another move entirely. Again, I could be wrong, and God, I hope so. But when you see what Trump has done, where he's backed off on the border and told Mexico they got a year to fix things, what? By that time, he's I said, I've never seen anybody, anybody, waffle and change direction as much as President Trump does. Honestly, I just haven't. And my Republican insider, he defends Trump all the time, but even he's saying, yeah, he's not the best, but it's all we got. And I agree with that. I told my Republican insider the other day, you know what? Trump is just a slow motion Hillary. And you know what? He agreed with me. He agreed with me. Things are not looking good, people. By the way, I hope to have him on. I'll give you a little heads up. I think I'm going to be able to get him on in about a week. We're trying to work out some things too. All Strandy, George Webb is not trustworthy in my opinion. Well, I'm cautious with George Webb too. I realize that there are foreign influences with all those guys that are related there. I understand that, okay? I'm not saying he's a bad guy, but there are influences. And that's why I said when I was listening to him this morning, I was going, wait a minute, George. wait a minute. You're very intelligent. You've got a lot of experience. You know what the hell you're talking about. But 2 plus 2 still has to equal 4. So I listen to what he says, but I don't swallow it all hook, line, and sinker either. That's the case with anybody. That's why I turned on Q, because Q, even and admittedly, most of you who've been following me, and I've left my earlier videos up where I discussed the Q thing, but I always warned that you needed to double check things on your own, like Q says to do, but then you do it and he blocks you or he calls you out or he makes war on you like he is, well, lots of people at this point. But, you get to the point where you finally test them and you realize they're not what they say they are. And that's what happened. Okay. I warned early on that it was becoming a cult. And then I said, these predictions aren't coming true. The use of the term disinfo is necessary is a truism. However, it was being used to cover up the failures, not just to protect operatives or anything like that. It was to cover up, to give an excuse for the failures of the predictions. And then finally, the DEFCON 1 debacle. If any of you followed me, and that's when I finally said, that's it. Obviously, these people aren't who they say they are. And I'm not going to go back. You can go back and look at I came unglued on that one. I was angry at Trump because I thought, okay, even then he might have something to do with it. But then, of course, I realized that that's not the case. Okay. Yes, I think our government is run by pure evil. Our principles are not pure evil, Reg, I'm not sure what your name is. But our principles are not, but the government in power. It's like the old statement, I love my country, but I don't trust my government. Yeah, that's it. And we've allowed this to happen. The leftist Marxists have taken control. The Trotskyites got in there. They became the neocons. Their hard-on for Russia is unfounded. It's jealousy. It's envy. It's a murderous heart. And that's who runs our government, is a murderous heart. We're still in Afghanistan. We're in Syria uninvited. I'm glad that I don't know what finally happened. They voted not to give the Saudis any more weapons for the Yemen war. I don't know. I frankly I lost track of that. I don't know what happened. Are they bringing him back to help take down the deep state? I don't think it would happen this way. No, I don't think so. I don't think that's what's happening at all. Remember, we were told that was happening over a year ago. I would be very careful thinking that that's the case. No, I think it's a method to send a message of, you're not going to get away with taking down the IC and bringing us to task to follow the Constitution and the rule of law, because they don't follow the rule of law or the Constitution. Look at this. When you go into the government, especially in a law enforcement or intelligence capacity, the first thing you do is you take an oath to defend and protect the Constitution of the United States. But then what they do is they enter in with these NDAs, these non-disclosure agreements, and then you take other oaths to protect the institution, not constitutional principles. How evil is that? These people are out of control. Your loyalty is to the Constitution of the United States, not to the intelligence agency. Unfortunately, Congress won't enforce that. And you get whistleblowers that come out, and what happens to them? Well, look at Binney. Good example. They should be protected for talking about what's happening, but they're not. And the Congress does nothing, and the president does nothing. Which tells you what's the old statement? Who you cannot criticize is who rules you. Think about that. That's what I mean, Reg. Yeah, they won't even go after treasonous people in our government. They need another 30, 60, 90 days, year, whatever it is, to put this information together. Horse shit. That's a delaying tactic, Barr. I want to believe you, Barr. I want to believe you. Your attitude in front of those committees was just absolutely outstanding. But I've been in law enforcement. There's no way this should take another 60 to 90 days or longer to collar a few of these people. There's no way. Are you going to have a couple bar that you throw to us? You know, a few pieces that are thrown to us? Probably. McCabe, Strzok, Page. Well, if you go only that far, that's more of a problem than if you hadn't done anything at all. Yeah, Ginger B. Yang, I agree. This is intense first thing in the morning. I agree, Joe Schmo. Assange is guilty only of shining a light on evil. I agree. Look, wasn't Christ, and I'm not trying to say that Assange is Jesus, okay? I'm saying the principles again here. Jesus shined light on the evil, and the evil came and crucified him for it. Did they not? Isn't that exactly what the Roman Empire did? Don't tell me it was the Jews. You don't know the real history when you say the Jews did it. No, they did not. The Jewish nation at the time did. Judea, yeah, in cohort in conjunction with Rome, but they were one and the same. The Herodians were Edomite Arabs that the Romans had put into power. Even the high priest at the time was Edomite, was an Arab. So you don't know that. So you don't know when Jesus was saying those who call themselves Jews or not. The Udites did not crucify Jesus. Those who called themselves Jews and are not did, and they were Edomite Arabs and the Romans. Romans didn't execute people for the Beatitudes. They don't care about that. They executed Jesus because they considered him a political insurrectionist. In other words, he was challenging the status quo of the ruling elite. Assange will have a pardon from Trump. Don't bet on that. I'm glad you have all this respect and hope for Trump, and I understand where you're coming from, but I don't think so. I don't think so. Yeah, Hannity, Lily Canna. Yeah, he's trying to stay in good graces with POTUS. Thought about Hannity. Like I say, when I hear these people say the rank and file of the FBI, I know they don't know what they're talking about, and other things. And so, I'm just, it's very disconcerting. Yeah, William. Yeah, the CIA and the FBI must be rebuilt from the ground up. I agree. But at this point in time in our history, I thought Trump had the courage to go down that road. I don't, everybody's saying, well, he's still exposing the evil. No more evil has to be exposed. It's all been done. Okay? And if there's no action now, there ain't going to be any. Well, yeah, of course. Chelsea Manning did give Assange something. Assange is also, and that's right. So the New York Times got information. The Washington Post got information. How come they're not? I mean, Obama jailed a lot of journalists. Okay, a lot of people have forgotten that. Well, apparently at this point, Trump thinks that it's okay to do too, and I'm not saying it is good. Yeah, Assange has dirt on many countries. Yeah, like I said, the Five Eyes. He knows all kinds of stuff. He's dangerous to them. But see that they're not interested in fixing themselves. They're interested in continuing their evil. That's what this is about. Keeping power, keeping money, going down the road of destroying humanity. That's what it's about. It's not about saving, it's not about protecting the people of their nations. It's not about that. Yeah, I've often said, Luigi Garcia, that as soon as Trump's out of there, they'll turn everything around in one day. True, because unless you clean up the supporting foundation, it's going to crumble. Is this the spine bar I was talking about? Yeah, you mean? Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, maybe. Rather than going after the guilty people that brought this coup on, maybe going after Assange is the way to 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 change the subject. I don't know anymore. Well, I do know, and I don't like what I see. DeGeneva thinks that Barr is great. Other people have thought that, Barr has seen the light and he wants to go out in a good light. But remember, he protected Lon Horiguchi at Ruby Ridge. He went along with the Waco thing. He went along with the Patriot Act and surveillance, saying that the Fourth Amendment is a. He gave the Fourth Amendment an accolade yesterday. It said it was a basis of our republic, or maybe he said democracy. I'm not sure. In which case he would be wrong in that. But then he goes along with unbridled surveillance, and that's speaking with a forked tongue as far as I'm concerned. Sometimes it's a little hard to tell which side you're really on, Roy. Just saying. My side, Tina, my side is for the principles of God and the Republic. Look, how many times have I talked about how, King David? King David was anointed of the Lord. So before King David, Saul was, King Saul. But just because the Lord anointed them and had them in their place, did the prophets not call them to task? Did the prophets not say, like Nathan against David, did he not call him out for the evil that he did? I'm not a worshiper of the cult of personality, Tina. I look at principle. So as a person stands by principle, I'm there with them. But when they turn against principle, I'm going to call them out on it. That's the side I'm on. And if you're going to find fault with that, then you don't understand anything. And I don't mean that as a condescension, Tina. I'm trying to tell you that you need to understand the difference between supporting a person and supporting principles. Because if we don't start supporting principles, all your hopes and dreams are going down the toilet. Avery Jones, good point. He says WikiLeaks reported Trump administration spying on Assange within the Ecuadorian embassy for 1 year. Trump forced Ecuadorian president to revoke asylum. If Trump was involved in this, he's bad. He's bad. He's protecting the very. Do you realize how serious this is? That means that Trump is protecting the very apparatus that tried to take him out of power, or appeared to try to take him out of power. Do you realize that? He's protecting the apparatus that's trying to destroy the republic and take down his presidency. That doesn't make any sense. So you're right, Avery Jones. There's a problem here. Yeah. Well, Mr. Assange has a kill button that will release millions of documents against the deep state. Don't underestimate the power of these evil guys. They can, yeah. Don't think that they haven't surveilled him long enough that they know all the details. Okay, I get a kick out of these people who tell me, oh, get these encryption things for your phone and your computer so we can talk and nobody can hear us. Are you kidding me? All those can be broken. You might as well speak out. Speak publicly. Speak your mind out in the public. Don't hide it. If you have a lamp, you don't put a basket over it and hide the light. You set it up on a hill for all to see. So I'm not going to use encryption devices and all that. No way. Yeah, that's interesting. You should say that, Luigi Garcia. I've noticed a difference in Trump as well. Yeah. I see anxiety. I'm not sure I'd go as far as fear, but I do see anxiety, and I see a loss of determination. Like I say, his rhetoric isn't matching what's happening on the ground. We're being flooded from the south. The IC is still out of control. Hillary's not arrested. Hell, nobody's arrested. We keep hearing, there's been a grand jury investigation of McCabe for a year? What? Like I said the other day, there's a a saying that says, you know, ever learning but never coming to a knowledge of the truth. And that's what's happening. We have endless investigations with no results, no matter who. Nunes says that they're making criminal referrals this week. They may be done today. I don't know. But that doesn't mean anybody's going to be collared. Yeah, Tina Fisher, how are we ever going to get this huge government reduced? You're not going to. It will have to collapse under its own weight, which is going to take out a lot of us. It's going to be nasty. It's going to be a shooting war eventually. And I'm not saying I want that. I'm saying cause and effect. Look at the states who refuse to, I talked about this the other day. There are states and there are other places that have sanctuary cities to protect the unlawful illegals. In other words, they are standing against the Constitution and against the federal government on the constitutional issues, these sanctuary cities, which I consider to be wrong. Now we're hearing about sanctuary areas that are standing up for the Second Amendment and will not enforce federal law. Those are correct. Those are they're doing the right thing. So this is dividing more and more between good and evil. I don't see it stopping. And you know what? We think it's a bad thing, and it is in a lot of ways, but it plays exactly into the hands. It's exactly what the evil people in the IC and the New World Order knew would happen. We either submit to them and go along merrily, or they will use our own system to divide us and to conquer us. And that's exactly what's happening because we've allowed this to go on for too long. So I say, get some like-minded people and try to protect yourselves. It's not going to be pretty. It's going to get ugly. Oh yeah, I agree with that. G-Man Neo, Roy. They need to change the narrative for a long time because of Barr's message the last 2 days. That's true. I'm not saying that doesn't change the narrative. That's very true, but it still doesn't change the end result either. That they're still going after people like Assange and not people in our own government. So it doesn't really change the basic concept. Change the narrative? Yeah, the talk about Assange will be out there, but that's not too far removed from why haven't they gone after Hillary and these other people? You see? So it's not really a change. I think it's a message that they're in control and that we aren't going to beat them. That's what I think it is. Because you really think that the Five Eyes in our own IC is going to get Assange to help Trump take down the deep state? Are you kidding me? If Trump had sent his team in there, like, back when one of the things that Ross Perot did was he had a rescue team that went and rescued different people under different circumstances around the world, primarily in Central or South America. I forget where it was. But Perot was able to mount that. Well, certainly President Trump could too. And that's not what happened here. That's not what happened. Okay, Joe, I agree. Joe Schmo says, easy to criticize Trump, who gave up a very opulent lifestyle to at least try to sort things out. Give him a break. Look, Joe, I've said that along too. He also doesn't take his presidential salary. Why did he give up this opulent lifestyle? Maybe he didn't. You don't know the whole score either, Joe. You don't know, apparently, we don't know what was really in Trump's heart. If he was really committed to giving up his opulent lifestyle and doing something, he wouldn't back away from his promises so easily. He wouldn't do 180-degree turns so easily. Think about it. What else, think about this, Joe. If he gave up his opulent lifestyle, as you say, if he doesn't succeed in turning the country around, what's he going to return to when he's done? If he doesn't get aggressive in doing the things that he promised. Do you understand what I'm saying? If he gave up his opulent lifestyle and he doesn't follow through on his promises, he should never have gone down that road in the first place or giving us a false hope. Come on, Joe. Think this through. I'm not saying, Snow, first of all, I'm not saying Sean Hannity isn't a true patriot. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that he makes too many excuses for the IC and for the people involved there. Okay. Pam Jones, hi, howdy, how you doing? Nice to see you. Hope everything's going well. Pam Jones, everybody, go to her. I guess she's had some problems on her different sites, pedophile exposure project and the chemtrails and all that. I guess they've given her a lot of trouble on her websites and things. But go and look at her information; it's extremely good. Yeah, again, Luigi Garcia. Barr said he's not arresting anybody. He said he's looking into it, and that's the troubling part. There's no looking into anything at this point. All the evidence is there. I could put it. I with my limited access, knowing what I know today, I could arrest those people, take them. Well, take it to a grand jury, get an indictment, and go out and arrest those people today. Yeah, William Shutter. Barr will contain the damage, hold show trials, and take down the scapegoats. Yeah, he wants to save the institutions. That's his first priority. Yes, I agree 100%. I agree with that 100%. He's damage control. Make a show, and then unless if he goes beyond that, good on him. But don't bet on anything more. Yeah, I think that's very good, Meester. Barr may be a snake in the grass, and Nunes is testing the water by sending indictment requests. Yep, good point. Yeah, I don't think Nunes trusts any of these people either. Nunes, Jordan, Meadows, um, Louis Gohmert, and there's some others. We have a handful, not much more, maybe a dozen people in the Senate and House of Representatives combined that are decent people. The rest of them, Dennis Burton, I'm intending to go along with you. That's what I'm saying. It's looking like to me that Trump will never declassify the information. Five Eyes just moved on him. Is the way I'm looking at it. Let's see, Joe Schmo. You must be addressing what I just said to you, and frankly, I've gone down the list here, so I forgot what I addressed you with. Okay, so I was talking about uh, easy to criticize Trump, you said, because he gave up his open lifestyle. Pray he's at least partially successful. And then your response now is that that's what, well, that is what Intel operators do, is it not? You must be talking to somebody else. I'm not sure what you're going at, Joe, so I'm just going to keep moving on. Okay, I'm gonna jump down because I've been going for an hour, over an hour now. I didn't plan on going this long, but I don't communicate back and forth with you all very much, so I wanted to do that a little bit this morning. I don't trust any of them either. Three teens, I don't. And I don't, Trump might pardon Flynn, but I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Did you listen to George Webb this morning? Go listen to his take on this Assange thing. He's still questioning whether Flynn's a good guy or not. What? What? You know, I took stands early in my military career that, and in my personal life, that effectively took me out of any chance of getting into a position of being able to change anything. And I often look back and I say to myself, I really canceled out any chance that God gave me to get into a place to make a difference. It was I canceled out because of the way that I stood on things, and because I looked at the scriptures and life and how we're supposed to deal in life differently than the traditions and the status quo dictated. So often I think to myself, you disappointed God, Roy, because you didn't accept with full measure the chance that he gave you to get in there and do something. You still went off on your own. And then I look at General Flynn, who did all those things. I'm not saying he went against his personal um, values. I'm not saying that. I'm saying he punched all the right tickets. He became a lieutenant general, and he ended up calling out the Obama administration on helping Al Qaeda, ISIS, all of that. And look where he ended up because of it. Yes, President Trump needs to pardon him. But I see where General Flynn ended up, God bless him. Then I realize I probably never had a chance either. Yeah, Viet Cong fired. Assange is in a lot of trouble. Yeah, British Intel, of course, they're the ones that were poisoning those Russians. It wasn't the Russians. It wasn't Putin. Yeah, Billy Green, you're right. The Queen. The Queen's an evil lady. The entire Windsor family. They aren't Windsors, of course. They're actually um, Romanians, Germans and Romanians. They pardon me. They absconded with the throne of England. They, basically what they did was what Germany was trying to do. Remember Raiders of the Lost Ark? Germany wanted to get the Ark so it could take power. Well, the British are the covenant people. That's what British means. It means covenant man. And the old story is, I'm not saying this is true, but that there's a stone underneath the throne at Westminster Abbey that is from David's King David's old throne, and that it's a symbol that whoever has that rules. Whether it's true or not, that's not the point. The point is that they're claiming that right to rule. They've hijacked it. Debbie Donovan, you're saying you like Barr. Well, I like what he says. We'll see. Okay, this thing with Assange is troubling. Okay, this is very troubling. The thing with the Department of Justice again refiling on the Bundys with the Ninth Circuit Court to reverse the decision of the judge in the Bundy case to dismiss the case with prejudice, which would mean that they can't bring the charges again, and they're trying to overturn that. Barr's not stopping that. President Trump's not stopping that. It's an evidence of the corruption and the negligence of these people. Yeah, yeah. Joe Schmo, I would say that too. The bar represents my last hope that anyone will be held accountable. I agree. And if he takes down only a handful of people, like we've talked about, and make some scapegoats, that's not good enough. That's not going to do it either. But I'm afraid that's where it's going. Yeah, sex trafficking is still a problem. See that's you, Warrior of Love. You just pointed out another thing. Thank you. If the sex trafficking problem on the border is such an issue, why didn't Trump send the military? Why didn't he do it? I'm not saying close the border to commerce, but now we've left it open for all this human trafficking to go on. What? And Coulter's right. What the hell are you doing, Trump? You talk about all how terrible the drugs and the human trafficking is, and you're giving Mexico another year to do something about it? Are you kidding me? Don't you realize, as I've said in several my borders um, documentary, and lately I've been referring to it, that we started an insurgent. We used the drug war as an insurgency to take over the Mexican government and to destabilize it so that it could destabilize us, which it's doing now. Trump has the wrong advisors, and I'm not certain that that wasn't by design on his part. Barr is a Bush fixer. Well, that's what he's been in the past. Absolutely, I agree. Yeah, Debbie, you're right. My guess, how do you expose the corruption without making people mad? The wrong kind of anger creates a mob mentality. Debbie, what is the leftist Marxist program? Division, race war, envy, class war. What do you mean mob mentality? They're moving down that road anyway. So what you're saying is that if Trump came out and acted, it would cause great anger and a mob mentality. I guess it comes down to who do you serve, right? The old cliche from Joshua, book of Joshua. I don't know. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Might be chaotic, but are you going to stand for good, or are you going to allow evil to continue? Or Patrick Henry, I know not what course others may take, but give me liberty or death. Come on, Debbie. President Trump admitted that this was a coup. Barr said that there was spying. They have. Do you understand? That just from what's happened, they have the probable cause to indict these people. Why wait? That makes no sense. Yeah, I thought that replacement, firing of the Secret Service head. A lot of people try to tie it to Mar-a-Lago. Um, I'm not so sure that that's the case. There's something I think a little more sinister going on there, but I'm not privy to it. Let me. I enjoy some of the things that are being said. Yeah, Candace. Here's Pam Jones. She says Candace has big balls. you know, we have more women standing up for things than we have men. Oh, K7V2. She says, he or she says, Roy, get off the hopium pill. Judge a tree by its fruits. Barr's no better than any of them, and Trump is a coward. What have I been saying, K7? Have you not heard a word I've said? Why do I do this? Why do I do this? I just got accused of being too hard on Trump, and now you're saying that I'm spreading hopium. Am I wasting my time? Like I said, I did this to unload my karma for working for this evil government for 30 years. I don't need to do this anymore. I think God's let me off the hook. I'm mistreated by the IC. They tail me. They surveil my stuff. because of what I said about the Boston bombing, what I've said about our government. I went to Bundy Ranch to be a witness to the evil that the BLM and the feds were doing to a ranching family and had done to many others. And they treat me like I'm a Russian asset. They accuse me of what they do. In other words, in that regard, I'm like Jesus. I am in that regard. I shine light on them and they want to crucify me, not repent and turn back to the good side. So you think that I'm giving hopium? You're not seeing what I'm saying. You're not taking me in in the entire context of what I've done. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go. Thanks for coming. Not sure when I'll be up next time. God bless you all. God bless the Constitutional Republic of the United States of America and the Second American Revolution. Yes, Candace is a hero. I agree. Absolutely 100%. I also tweeted out a thing the other day. Two black people, two black guys, saw a lady getting gas at a station. I don't know if you all saw this, but she was paying with pennies. And you could see it in their eyes that they had these big hearts, and these two big black men come over to this little white lady and give her money, and they're crying because they can see her suffering, and they're trying to alleviate that. That's America. Those are real Americans. God damn those in the SPLC and in the IC and in Congress and in the leftist Marxist organizations that want to divide us. Prep, pray, stay out of the way. Keep your eyes on the horizon, your ears to the ground. Go out and buy that AR-15 as a political statement, if nothing else. Get your food supply, your water, all the things I say. God bless Donald Trump and all of his righteous endeavors, and they're getting depleted really fast. May the Spirit of the Lord send him the spirit of discernment that he may know the right from the wrong and have the courage to do the same, but I don't think he's listening to the Spirit much anymore, honestly. Sorry, my Republican insider. I know you're listening. I'm not happy with what happened today. And I'm not certain that I'm happy about any of this. Like I said, we might have him on, ladies and gentlemen, in a few weeks. You will be spellbound. I promise you. If he ends up coming on, you will be spellbound and you will not want to miss a single word that he speaks. Out here, everybody. Thanks a lot.